Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, GCU students, alumni, and fellow educators. Welcome to episode 58 of the Designing with Love podcast. Today, we're diving into a model that sits at the very heart of effective instruction, Merrill's first principles of instruction. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refresh your approach, this episode will give you the foundation you need to create learning that sticks. So, grab a coffee, your notebook, and get comfortable. Let's dig in. Developed by Dr. M. David Merrill, these principles focus on what makes instruction truly effective across any format or delivery method. Instead of prescribing a rigid process, Merrill's framework identifies 5 core principles that, when applied, lead to deeper and more meaningful learning. Let's break down each of these principles. Principle 1, problem-centered learning. Learners are engaged by solving real-world problems. This gives them a purpose and context for what they're learning. Principle 2, activation of prior knowledge. Help learners connect new information to what they already know. Activating existing knowledge builds mental bridges to new concepts. Principle 3, demonstration of skills. Show, don't just tell. Learners need to see how new knowledge or skills are applied before trying it themselves. Principle 4, application of skills. Learners should apply what they've learned through practice, exercises, or activities, with feedback along the way. Principle 5, integration into real life. Finally, learners should reflect, share, and apply their new skills in real-world contexts. This solidifies learning and increases transfer. These principles are simple but powerful and align beautifully with the way people actually learn. Now, let's talk about how you can bring these principles to life in your projects. But here's the thing. Just knowing the principles isn't enough. To truly support your learners, you'll want to include scaffolding, feedback, and tools that make each principle actionable. Let's walk through each principle again with these added layers. Principle 1, problem-centered learning. Start with a scenario or challenge that feels authentic. This could be a case study, simulation, or performance task. Here's a tool tip. Try using articulate rise or branching scenarios to simulate real-world problems that unfold based on learner decisions. Here's a scaffolding idea. At the start, provide a sample solution or walk learners through how to break down the problem before asking them to do it on their own. Principle 2, activation of prior knowledge. Don't skip this step. It helps learners connect the dots between what they know and what they're about to learn. Here's a tool tip. Use Mentimeter, Padlet, or even a simple discussion board to ask reflective questions or conduct quick polls. Here's a scaffolding idea. Provide a concept map or summary sheet of previous lessons to jog learners' memory. Principle 3, demonstration of skills. Modeling the task is key. Let learners see how it's done before they try it. Here's a tool tip. Use Loom, YouTube, or embedded screencasts to show processes or thinking strategies. Here's a scaffolding idea. Highlight key steps visually, provide transcripts, and offer annotated versions of your demo to focus attention. Principle 4, application of skills. Now it's time for learners to get hands-on, but here's where feedback becomes critical. Here's a tool tip. Use Google Forms, interactive quizzes, or H5P activities for low-stakes practice with instant feedback. Here's a scaffolding idea. Design feedback that's specific, timely, and focused on improvement. Instead of just saying incorrect, try that's close. Remember to consider the customer's tone before choosing a response. And don't forget scaffolding here, too. Start with guided practice, then gradually shift to independent problem solving. Principle 5, integration into real life. Learning is only complete when learners can make it their own. Here's a tool tip. Encourage use of reflective journals or group presentations where learners apply what they've learned in a way that's meaningful to them. Here's a scaffolding idea. Offer prompts like, how would you use this in your next project? Or explain this concept to a colleague. When you build instruction around these tips and ideas, you're not just transferring knowledge, you're helping learners grow. All right, so let me give you a real-world example of Merrill's principles in action. Imagine you're designing a training for new customer service representatives at a tech company. Here's how you can incorporate the 5 principles with this scenario. First, you begin with a realistic customer complaint scenario, the kind reps will actually face on the job. That's your problem-centered approach. Then you ask, have you ever handled a frustrated customer before? And invite them to share how they would respond. That's activation. Next, you show a recording of a model customer call, highlighting both effective and ineffective strategies. Demonstration, check. Now, learners role-play the same type of call in breakout rooms, receiving peer and instructor feedback. Application is covered. Finally, you ask learners to journal how they'll use these strategies in real calls, or have them create a quick guide for new hires. That's integration. Every principle woven seamlessly into the experience. And best of all, the learners feel prepared, not just informed. So, here's your design challenge this week. Look at one of your current or upcoming learning projects and ask yourself the following questions. Where can I better scaffold learning? Am I providing specific, helpful feedback? Do I have the right tools to support each principle? When we design instruction with these layers, Merrill's principles, scaffolding, and feedback, we don't just teach, we empower. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow instructional designer. You can also support the podcast on my Buy Me a Coffee page, which is linked in the show notes. You are welcome to review the interactive diagram I created at the link provided in the show notes, which includes an overview of what was covered in the episode. In addition, please check out my blog site, which is also provided in the show notes. As I conclude this episode, here's an inspiring quote from Dr. David Merrill himself. Learning is promoted when learners are engaged in solving real-world problems and when instruction is based on progress of problem-solving tasks. It's a simple but profound reminder. When we design with purpose, we teach with power. Until next time, keep designing with love. And remember, great instruction doesn't just inform, it transforms. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.